Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight we have Clarence Gatemouth Brown, and this is going to be coming from 1966, and it's going to be Okie Dokie Stomp. So let's get Clarence up on screen and see how he gets on.
Gatemouth Brown, honey, there, let's go.
I'm just going to jump in here because this video is not going to be very long. It's only 2 minutes 20, this particular performance, and it's such a classic 1966 performance. We've got a girl dancing in the background as if you're going to be watching that whilst Clarence is actually playing the guitar. But just to point out a few things about Clarence's playing, the way that we've got a really good shot here of that thumb that he rests on that low E string, and he really just uses that first finger to pick the strings on the lead notes that he's playing on the top end of that guitar on the higher strings, but he's resting that thumb on that lower E string, and he's kind of using that. Not only that's going to keep that low E string nice and quiet, so he's not going to get any interference with those lead notes, but he can use that as a bit of an anchor point to then be able to pick with a little bit more force with the first finger. And it's a really interesting way of playing because he's not using a pick here, he's just using all fingers and thumb. I've seen him use that thumb as well for strumming the chords, like if he then gets into any chord playing. But sometimes you'll see that low E string really push down into that A string, and sometimes you'll actually see both of those strings, the E and the A, getting pushed down with the force just to anchor that thumb so that he could get even more purchase on those higher strings if he wants to get a little bit more attitude, a little bit more harsh dynamic sound out of that top end of the guitar, out of those lead notes. Another thing is the fact that he's playing a Rickenbacker here. You don't see a hell of a lot of blues being played on Rickenbackers, so it's just a unique thing in itself. Not only the guitar he's playing, but the way that he's playing. He's also got that capo really high up on the guitar, and you might not notice it unless you're looking out for it. So all of these lead notes that he's playing is going to be restricted to that fret that he's got the capo on, and he's pretty high up here. I think it's going to be around B, even C. So he's really restricted. He can't go down very low on the guitar, and this is just one of the things you'll see with Clarence's playing, that he does have a capo. You know, if you play guitar, if you don't know what a capo is, it basically moves the bottom of the guitar higher up the fretboard, so it means that you don't have to do bar chords. A bar chord is, you'll see players doing bar chords when they've got their first finger all the way across the fretboard, and then they're doing another chord position with the other three fingers, such as an E or an A. You can squash down your third finger, or an A minor. You're playing those simple shapes, but you're supplying the bar underneath. When you've got the capo there, you don't need that anymore. So you can now play the simple shapes, and you're free to move up and down and not have to worry too much about getting back to your chord in a bar chord, because the open string at the bottom will always be in key. Some of the top blues players also, when they're playing without a capo, have that thumb over the top, such as Jimi Hendrix. You'll see him playing this way, where the first finger, second, third, and little finger are playing the chord, the top end of the chord, chord, and then the thumb comes over the top and actually plays the root note. Some players who've got big hands and long thumbs even move the root note down a couple of frets so they can actually get a running bass line with their thumb going down a couple of frets and then semitones up to where they started again. That's another thing that Hendrix used to do. The advantage here is that having that capo means you get down to that root note for free. You don't have to go back down to play the full chord. You can always play something and give that reference point to people listening just by hitting that first E string, that low E string, and that'll give you the reference point for all the lead that you're then playing. And Clarence went to a gig, a T-Bone Walker gig, another guitarist that I featured on this channel, and T-Bone Walker actually became ill. So Clarence got up on stage and he started playing one of his own tracks, and the owner of the club really liked what Clarence was doing. So the owner set up a record label, and that was in 1947. So Clarence then was up and running and could now be part of a record label and start to get his music out there. Let's just hear the very last part of this performance. And there we go, there's the end of the performance. And the great thing about this video is the band as well. Just listen to how tight that band is. They're all over it, especially in this last section. It's super tight. Great use of hammer-ons and pull-offs as well. He's got some really cool stuff going on here, but also the tone that he's got, super clean. Always tended to be like that around the mid-60s, early 70s as well. The overdrive then started to bleed into players' tones in the kind of late 70s, early 80s as well. But around this time, 1966, really clean tone on a Rickenbacker playing blues. It's just a really great sound that he's getting. And the fact that he's playing with his fingers is always going to have a softer element to it than doing flat picking using a pick. But being so clean, it meant from the blues players, when you were listening to what they were playing, you really got an appreciation of their expression because there wasn't anything to hide behind. There wasn't any distortion on there. And every guitarist started to get their own sound from their left hand rather than using a particular effect. Clarence's name is mentioned a lot with Roy Clark because they struck up a friendship, and Clarence actually performed on Hee Haw, which is the show, of course, that Roy Clark is known for. And Clarence then went into a show called The Beat, and he was the musical director of the band, and this is where this video actually originates. This is a performance from The Beat. But Clarence Gatemouth Brown, what a great blues player, unique player as well, with the style and the choice of guitar that we've got on this video. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one.